people blame aging, stress, or bad luck when their health declines, but Patty Daigle discovered the real answers were hidden in her DNA. And after a personal health crisis, this Air Force veteran turned nutritional genomics expert now helps people uncover why generic wellness advice often fails. And we're here to talk about it. She is the author of The DNA Advantage, and we're here on the Marketer of the Day podcast with Robert Plank. We are brought to you by dfypodcast.com, where we handle the podcast backend, editing, publishing, and promotion, so you can focus on the interview. And the interview that we are about to have is to take your health and make it personal. And whether you're coming through a personal health crisis or you just want to make sure you live a happy, long life, then we're going to maybe blow the lid off some secrets, and Patty will enlighten us about what we need to know, especially if that conventional health advice just is not working for us and we need to maybe get educated, pursue some solutions. So, Ms. Patty, how are you?
I'm doing great, Robert. Thank you for this lovely interview opportunity.
Yeah, and thank you for being here, right? It goes both ways. I'm equally amazed and excited about the conversation that we're about to have. I know that you are into epigenetics and frequency bioscanning and just many things where you might have heard this, but maybe we need to know okay, what exactly is that? Because I need to know what the pros and cons are. And so what do you think I left out of that introduction, or what should we know about you just right off the bat?
I'm a grandmother of 8. I am very passionate about what I do. And my goal and focus and my mission are just to help other people to understand there are alternative solutions to their health.
Very good. And those alternative solutions, sometimes they can be scary, or we can say, well, is this something that's like hot air because I don't know much about it? And so when we hear about these alternative solutions, do you have a starting point? Do you know what has promise and what is just a bunch of nothing?
I think fear is the biggest thing that keeps people away from going after those alternative solutions. They've put their trust in our medical system for so many years, so many decades, and they're just not knowledgeable enough of the opportunities that are out there for them, especially the frequency wellness centers now, because I'm all about frequency healing as well. There's lots of opportunities to correct your energy of your body and help to be more in balance. Just going to
Well, very nice. Well, I'm here to find out about those choices. And they say a couple of things about America, right? They say that our healthcare is the best in the world. It's not the cheapest, but if you can figure out, there's always the cutting edge, or there's these alternative medicines. And what they also say about America is it's one of these countries where there can be a $10 steak right here, and there can be a $100 steak right there down the street. And so I guess what that means to me is we have the freedom of choice, but we also maybe have the paradox of choice, and it's up to us to get educated because no one will educate for us. And as you said, the medical system, it's not something to be trusted any more than the education system, or, if whatever project you have happening, you have to be your own advocate, and maintaining your health, it's a ongoing project, especially if you have the health scares or you're just getting up in the years. You're bound to have some kind of health problem, just if you're lucky enough to live into your 70s and 80s. And so what do you think has you really excited about, like we were saying, there's all sorts of possibilities, but as far as the alternative remedies, therapies that are out there, is there anything that's exciting that we should know about?
Well, the one thing that got me started with my new book that's coming out in September, it's all about you knowing your body. Just like our fingerprints, they're different on every single human being. We're all unique in different ways. And you need to know how your DNA, this is my theory, if once you learn your DNA blueprint, because everybody's is different. You're going to know how your body's going to absorb nutrition and medication, how it's going to methylate. And that's a big conversation nowadays. You see many people talking about methylation. And then our cells need to be able to convert, the protein and enzymes need to convert to energy for our mitochondria and our ATP. So if your body can't do all that because you're not feeding it the way it needs to be fed, and that the way it understands it's being fed, then you're going to have some problems along the way, and your health is not going to be its ultimate best.
Okay, well, fair enough. And so it's we think about okay, the health advice that's out there, right? They say, well, don't drink, don't smoke, move around, exercise, drink water instead of soda. Is there anything that maybe drives you crazy about people kind of like polluting their bodies? Any lifestyle changes we should all be on the lookout for?
Exercise daily is so important. On all of our DNA SNPs that I see, exercise 20 to 30 minutes every day. It doesn't have to be strenuous. Get up and move. Just move your arms, move your legs, lift. Get on a vibrating machine. And you know why we have to do that? Because if we don't move, the toxins get stuck in our lymph systems. And when they get stuck, that's when it starts to fester and we get sicker instead of getting better. And we can't recover as fast. It's like a traffic jam. Everything blocks up, and if you're not moving, it's not going anywhere, right? Just like that traffic jam. Your car's not going to go if you're not moving it through the traffic down the road.
Of course. Makes logical sense. And it's I like, when I feel like I'm a pretty good walker. Like I'll walk several times a day, but then every now and then I'll maybe let a couple of days go by where it just falls out of my routine for whatever reason. I'm a busy dad sometimes, or I've got some project, and then I just feel a lot worse. I feel very sluggish, and it's sometimes hard to get back in motion if we've sat there for a while. And so I can completely relate. It's a good reminder. Just move and eat, do what you can, right? Even move your arms, because you'll get the motion happening, get those toxins out of your lymph nodes. And so I know that you're big on the DNA, right? Like you've got the book about it, the DNA Advantage, and you've mentioned it. Is there like a DNA test, or when you say like, okay, these problems are like in my DNA, like how do we know what our personal ailments could be?
Sure, there are full-blown epigenetic testing, which tests a lot of your DNA for many different diseases and illnesses that are out there. Mine in particular, I am into nutritional genomics. So we test for 18 specific genes that control the methylation, how your body methylates and converts the nutrition that you put into it, or whether it can't, because you have what we call SNPs, single nucleotide morphisms. And what that means is those genes can't function at their ultimate best because they are missing a piece of communication. Look at your DNA as the letters of the alphabet. So you've got two strands trying to communicate with each other. So if your T can't be crossed, it's going to look like an L. If your I can't be dotted, it's going to look like something else. If your D can't have the curve, it's going to look like an L. So if you're missing a piece of that piece of the puzzle or that alphabet, our DNA can't talk to each other and communicate properly. And we're
That
all about
makes
communication.
Yeah, that's logical. Well, so say someone gets this kind of epigenetic test, like what is an example of how might that test look like? And say if those T's are instead L's, like what do we do with that information? How do we change our course of action?
So I can tell you my story. 6 years ago, I lost 30 pounds in 6 months. and 3 different doctors could not figure out what the problem was. A friend of mine who was doing epigenetic testing with a doctor from Austin, Texas, said, "Let me test you and we'll see what Dr. Stewart can find out what's going on." And my test came back, and all she said was, "You're a sick young lady, and you need to go see Dr. Stewart." So I took a 3-day road trip out to Austin, Texas, and met with this gentleman who has 3 PhDs. I trust him with my life. He was a neurological brain surgeon. He went back to college and got a PhD in nutrition, in genetics, and then in nutrition. So he's got the whole gamut of what your body needs. And when he read my test results and ran some other tests, he found that I had a couple of gene mutations that were causing my body not to function properly. And besides that, I had heavy metals going throughout my body that were settling in my organs. Epstein-Barr again. There are parasites, and I had had a tetanus shot that caused some more damage to my pancreas. So now I'm a type 1 diabetic. But my passion and my goal is to prove that we can get rid of diabetes, even type 1, with the proper adaptogens and nutrition and exercise.
Very good. That would be quite the medical breakthrough, right? That would save a lot of lives by getting the code cracked on that one. And is that common? Like when people get this test, do they normally find like a long list of ailments like you, or are they clean bill of health? Is there only one thing? Like what are the, how severe are the results usually?
You know what? Sometimes they don't even know they're sick. And I shouldn't say sick. Sometimes they don't know they have mutations. They just said, I'm aging. That's what they're told. Oh, you're just getting old, which isn't always the fact. A lot of things going on in our gut. Our gut health is everything. The gut brain, the gut heart, gut everything. If your gut is not balanced or in alignment, you're going to have a hard time staying healthy. And one of the biggest things that I have found over the past 3-4 years, especially, I've been studying, watching Rogers Hood and some other podcasters on parasites. Those little buggers are causing a heyday in so many people's bodies. Cancer hides behind parasites. A lot of other illnesses hide behind parasites. So if you can get parasite tested, it's not always going to find it, but you've got a better chance of figuring out what the root cause is to whatever your health issue is. Like that was the biggest thing to me. And now they even know that even diabetes, there's specific parasites that are eating the insulin as the pancreas is creating it. Your cells need that insulin for energy. And if it can't get that energy from that insulin, you're going to be tired, you're going to have brain fog, you're going to have a lot of other symptoms. So to me, it's worth getting your parasites tested, your system tested for parasites like every quarter, because there's so much out there in our foods and our environment that are not healthy for us.
Yeah, and I can definitely see how if you're not getting these tests or only, you know, not getting the full test, I can see how if there's many factors at play, right? You have the diabetes, plus you have the parasite. I can see how it can be tough to detect if you're not getting the test properly. So it seems like we need to be vigilant and disciplined about our health. And I can't help but notice the 31 years in the Air Force and federal service. I mean, I couldn't even do 1 year in the Air Force, right? I mean, I can only imagine what I can't imagine what that entails as far as the hard work and doing your job properly. And do you have anything to share in that department? Because I'm sure like the whole, like, you know, managing your health and taking the medications and like the injections if it's diabetes, or going back and getting the test. Like, it's a lot of work. It can be like a part-time job, even just sticking with it. So what have you learned in that 31 years, just as far as like having a good work ethic, so to speak, that maybe we can apply to managing our health?
So my work ethic on a daily basis is staying away from the foods that I know my body cannot absorb properly, or cause allergies, or I'm allergic to, that I have food sensitivity to, like gluten. I cannot have gluten. I cannot have strawberries. No nightshades. So nightshades are off the table for me too because of my gene mutations. So I stay away from all of that. And because I stopped all those foods, I have not had a single arthritis pain since,
Huh.
because there's no inflammation.
Yeah, and it's getting off foods, like, it's so tricky, isn't it? Like, I know, like, the
Sure.
when I used to have like chocolate or candy in the house, it was hard to even go half a day without candy or a piece of bread. But then sometimes when I just happen to not buy a thing and it wasn't in the house, maybe I would be miserable for a week or two. And then I realized, like, oh, I haven't had candy in a month. I haven't had soda in 3 months. And then I end up feeling better. But there seems to be like a lag factor there. And so I can see how getting off some certain food that, like, is bad for you, and you say,
Mhm.
oh, but it's such a trade-off. Yeah, but if you just could stick it out long enough for the gluten or the sugar or whatever to get out of your system, then the addiction, the cravings aren't as bad, or not all the time, and then you end up feeling better afterwards. I can see how it's just getting through the messy middle sometimes of it. Isn't that what it sometimes takes?
That it is what it takes. You have to be diligent, and you have to want to be the healthiest you that you can be. Um, if you're out there drinking at the bars every night, and or whatever it is that people do, um, you're just not giving your body not the opportunity to repair itself. You're just not. Your kidneys, your liver, your pancreas, your adrenals, they all communicate to each other through this electrical communication system in our body. And if one of them is out of balance, the rest of them are normally going to be out of balance.
And it's good to have this education. It could sometimes, like, to override our emotions, because, like you mentioned, drinking, like, what I haven't had a drink in a year and a half, and I wasn't even like that ever since being a dad. I wasn't that heavy a drinker, but it's like I didn't realize even a little bit would, like, kind of it would mess up my mood for the whole week, just a little bit. And I think I saw someone once say, like, there's no medical benefit for alcohol. And, like, historically we think, oh, well, it's a social lubricant, or relaxes me. And then they do all these studies, it doesn't. It's false, right? You have the false confidence, and then you pay it back later when you have the hangover or the bad mood. So it just seems like there's just some relearning to have, and some bad habits to get rid of. But in our final minutes of the conversation, I want to make sure that we talk about what's important to you, Miss Patty Daigle. So do you think there might be a missing question here that I should be asking you? I just don't know to ask you.
Missing questions. Robert, with this book that I'm just finishing up, I've had my head in so many articles, and reading, listening to podcasts, and my brain wants to go like this sometimes because I've got so much knowledge stuck in here, and I just want to talk all the time, but it needs to be able to flow and be in order. So the biggest things is, if you have the funding, because of course our medical and system and insurance doesn't pay for your epigenetic and nutritional genomic testing, if you can save up for it, we're talking maybe $250 to have yourself tested, to learn how your blueprint is laid out. That's going to make a world of difference in how you accept medications, and how you eat. and what your body's going to do with that nutrition. Stay on a nutrient dense based diet. Eat those greens. If you're not eating your greens every day, you're really missing out. Mushrooms are very healthy for you. Methylated vitamin B. If you've got gene SNPs like I do, like the MTHFR and the FUT2, you need to be taking methylated supplements. And I'll go back on that one. You know, 30, 32 years ago when I got married, my husband and I each had a child, but we wanted one more to close our family up. And we had 3 pregnancy losses within a year and a half. And it wasn't until I had my testing done when I got sick 6 years ago that I learned about these gene mutations and the problems that they cause. And women who are losing their pregnancies or having a hard time getting pregnant, there's usually a connection to a methylation issue. Your body's not able to absorb maybe vitamin B and vitamin D, which are highly needed for that child to be conceived and grow healthy. And I talk about that in one of my chapters too. But there's so much more to it, Robert. You have to take the time to learn about the alternatives and learn your body, because you are an individual and nobody else has your blueprint. And your genes can be passed down for generations. So if you find out that you've got a couple of mutations going on, more than likely somebody above before you, a parent before you, and or your kids below you are going to have that same mutation. So you might be able to stop something dead in its track, making so that they don't get sick sooner than later.
Wonderful. Break the generational change, as they say. Know what you might be inheriting or what you might be passing on. And so you say, if you're concerned about, I mean, maybe you shouldn't be like worried about your health, but if health is a priority, which it should be for sure, then you say, at the very least, eat leafy greens. But then if you can save up that $250, like what should, say someone saved it up, like what should they Google or look for? Like an epigenetic test, would that get them what they need?
That would probably be a little bit more expensive because that's a full-blown whole body test. I mean, our nutritional genomics is too, but it's more of how your body is absorbing again. So they could find it on my website. There's a couple of different companies out there that market nutritional genomics testing, and they're simple swab tests. You get a swab kit, you go up and down on your cheek, in and out, and twist it and put it in a vial and send it back in. And usually within 4 to 5 weeks, you've got results back. And I work with 2 different companies. So you have a different opportunity to learn more or a little bit less of about your genetics. Depends what the families had been going on, how much you want to know.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, as you've been saying, this health is a personal, unique journey. So it's a puzzle to be solved. So we need to, look into this. And so that website is yourDailyNourishment.com. And you can click on, there's a tab with that DNA test kit. And it's amazing that this exists. I wonder how many people don't even know that this is the thing that can be done, right? You swab, you send it in, and you get those results. And then you can take action from those results as well. And if you say, well, I need help navigating this, I need that foundation, maybe you're like Patty and you listen to some of these podcasts, and the podcast is great for the randomness, the minutia, but for the foundation, for the step-by-step, we need to go through a book that's been like logically thought through and carefully ordered. And you have your existing book called The DNA Advantage, where you explore and simplify epigenetics and nutritional genomics, which we've been talking about, which relates to the food we eat, stress we feel, the air we breathe, foods. And then you can, if you say, okay, well, I have this or that problem or defect, then I can change my diet and then feel a lot better and solve or minimize some health problems, perhaps. And so you also say that there's this new exciting book coming out in September that you're putting the finishing touches on. Is there a title yet, or is there anything you can share about that new book?
Sure. It's called The Genius Reset. Geneius Reset. And it should be out in mid-September sometime. So the first book, The DNA Advantage, was what I learned at the level I was at from when I got sick till I started learning more about DNA health. So it gives you just the basics, and a lot of people don't even know the basics. So that's where I wanted to start, and that's what that book is. This book gives you more information on what I've learned since then, and all my friends that I've talked to, or people I've met on cruise ships, or where I talk to everybody and anybody. I'm not afraid to talk about health issues. So I can try to help them figure out what their baseline situation is, and we go from there. And what I like best is I also started biohacking, so I can take hair and nail clippings and put them into my bioscanner, and it tells you also what cells, the energy of your cells. If you have low energy, then you need some frequency to start boosting that energy up in your body, and that will also help with the communication and signaling going on.
Amazing what's possible, right? It's like Star Trek when they have the scanner. It's like we have that now, right? You can do this biohacking and just figure out what might be the problem, and just tap into these resources that we didn't have even a few years ago. But it's good to be educated about the alternatives and the possibilities. So we have the Genius Reset, which is coming out in September, and then the DNA Advantage, and then we mentioned that website, yourdailynourishment.com. And as far as these next steps, do those 3 resources sound logical? Anywhere else someone should go?
I have a YouTube channel that there's quite a few videos out there. It's growing strong. I was 682, so I'd love to get to 1,000 if you would like to help me get there. But I try to keep people educated on what the genes do, what happens to your body if you have a gene mutation with a certain gene, and how does it affect you? How does it affect your family? How does it affect an infant if they have a gene mutation as well, because they were born with them?
Oh, so it's not just about you. There are others that may have these problems. And so we'll have the link to that YouTube channel in the show notes under the podcast, but that's youtube.com/Patty, Lach Daigle. And she talks about things like how stress might spike your glucose, your meds might be depleting vital nutrients, cellular health, fixing brain fog. It's like every few days there's something new that you should be checking out. Oil for good health, your supplements failing, blood sugar. I mean, there's just so much to know, and little bite-sized pieces, right? 3 to 5 minutes, and it's easily digestible. You go there, you click subscribe, so you can be a subscriber. It's at 633. I just clicked now, you're at 634. So maybe you out there in podcast land can be subscriber number 635. That way you can just get your daily nourishment, literally get these little tidbits and just know what you need to know about gluten-free, about energy, about frequencies, about mushrooms, and all these things that we've been discussing. So that way, when it's time to jump into either the Genius Reset or the DNA Advantage or both, you've already heard some of these terms, and you can just finally get on track to solve some of these problems, get the testing, change your lifestyle, change your diet, and feel better and live longer and be happier and benefit your family as well. Sounds like a win-win times 5. And so that's Patty Lach Daigle on YouTube, yourdailynourishment.com, and then the DNA Advantage and the Genius Reset on Amazon. And as far as us wrapping up the show here, Miss Patty, it's time for the scary part of the podcast where I try to stump you. I try to put you on the spot by asking about a fun or interesting quote or lesson that has served you. So what comes to mind as far as a fun or interesting quote or lesson?
Oh my goodness. I think Albert Einstein or Tesla back in the 1800s said it best, that frequency is the future of medicine. Well, the future of medicine is now, and frequency healing is something that we all need to start looking into. Hyperbaric chambers, pure oxygen. There's so many good things. Clean your fruits and vegetables really good, because you don't know what's been sprayed on them or what little critters may be infesting them.
Oh
Clean
yeah,
them.
what parasite you might be letting into your body this time? It's better
Exactly.
to stop it so that way you don't have to clean up the mess later, of course. But if you
Exactly.
do have to clean up the mess, you should check out yourdailynourishment.com. You can find out about DNA testing, bioscanning, about Patty's books, about Patty as a person. You can even set up a consultation call if you say, I just need someone to get me on the right track. Yourdailynourishment.com is the place to go. And let's think about what Einstein or Tesla, or maybe even both, right? Whoever it was, they said that frequency healing is the future, and now we need to take it seriously and get our bodies in tip-top shape as much as they can be and fixed up. So thanks for being here, Miss Patty, and educating us. And I'm really appreciative of you and what you do. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for listening, and it was good to see you.